Well, what do they really want to ban out? It's very obvious that Kataro needs to be that big carry in this game. He would also like to provide some team fight control. It's where I honestly wouldn't be too bothered if they themselves want to look for the Faceless Void. Because right now, the Puck is very elusive. The best spell you have for him really is just the Telekinesis. And then maybe you can chain stun it together with a clockwork hook, then into a lasso. But as soon as Mr. Jeans looks at an item like the Lincoln Sphere, then the game's kind of blown wide open. So it's kind of hard. It's also where kind of a pocket pick for Kataro. It'd be such a devious Ricky game if you want to play Ricky carry. It's such a
Hmm.
great game for it. But, you know, we'll see. I think that's where maybe Katara wants to be thinking about other things, but he can afford to be on a weirder carry as well. It's just what the Beastmaster allows you to do. Because Vitaly's got the building, he's got the Roshan check. It does allow you to pick a much wider hero pool, even though it does feel a little bit out of Katara's wheelhouse, but, it'd be fun, it'd be cool, and it would make Mr. Jeans absolutely miserable. And here we go.
Okay.
See, now you got to see those back-to-back bans because they've had an extra minute and a half to think about it. But we'll see. We'll give them a little bit of time to situate back in that captain seat.
Yeah, August is back. Game gets resumed, and we'll see what the choices are here from the bans. We'll start by removing the Troll Warlord, which, uh, okay. I mean, it doesn't quite fit the mold that you were talking about in terms of a hero that has that lockdown, unless you're counting the roots, but that's hardly reliable. But NoRunes, we're still kind of worried about it. They'll remove it, and now we'll have to see. Each team, one ban each, Faceless Void, looming large, sort of in the pool here. But Alliance have the most immediate pick, so just ban out something else, force your opponents to remove it, and then if they don't, you get it for free, or... Yeah, that may very well be the case. They instead ban the CK, which... Okay, fair enough. We've seen a couple of teams, including Alliance.LATAM themselves, put that CK in there from time to time.
Yeah, it's really funny. I feel like both No Runes and Alliance are banning out their own carries primarily here with heroes that they've picked and drafted at least previously. But we'll see. It definitely is a little bit funny to me, but no cares. And here's the question. Do you pick it up? Do you decide to go for the Terrorblade instead? Do you just want another big Kataro hero? You definitely are allowed to do so. I think in the troll ban, No Runes tip their hat a little bit looking at a hero like maybe the Ursa or the Lifestealer, just
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise there's no point in banning that troll because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Do so.
And they go for that hero. I mean, okay, sure. One of Katara's best by far, but a hero that has completely fallen through in the meta. Nobody likes Medusa anymore because she is just slow, both literally and kind of metaphorically. She farms kind of slow. She needs a lot of items. She is hard to get around the map. You need to force her. She's real easy to kind of work around. And in this team fight, she is going to eat a lot of spells. This is not your carry that buys BKB after one item. This is Medusa. You buy Manta Scotty, then you look for the BKB, just giving No Runes a much wider window for a lot of their heroes to be effective. And now Alliance only have one BKB timing to work around. It's just going to be Batrider getting his. Of course, it's going to be very fast. Batrider always gets his BKB immediately after the Boots of Travel, but it's not going to be paired with anybody else.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe they're looking at this as a... We can grab ourselves a Manta, then we don't have to deal with Silence. We can grab a Hurricane Pike, then maybe she can get out of Kiss's range and or Wukong's command, but those aren't incorrect thoughts, right? But the Deuce is still such a slow builder. No Runes, though, well, a bit of a slow builder of their own, but that is PL against Dusa. That is a matchup that we've always sort of talked about as being an interesting one, right? Because if you go for a diffusal, if you're hacking away with your illusions, okay, cool. You burn through the mana shield pretty quickly, but you're one stone gaze away from suddenly being almost entirely alone.
Yeah, and it is a matchup that is you are constantly losing footing. Mini farm slower. The PL is going to need just as many items as Kataro will, and Kataro can make it work. You change up your build a little bit on the Medusa, you look for items like the Butterfly, like the Daedalus, you try to be that stat king as opposed to the most tanky Medusa in the world. But if Kataro is an entire item ahead of the PL, there are timing pushes. There are Aegises to play around. It's where the Medusa is much better at playing that objective focused gameplay. And funnily enough, the Medusa pick almost baits NoRunes into also a kind of bad carry. So it's kind of a battle of the B tier carries right now. And the only reason they go for PL is because there's a Medusa in the game. They try to directly counter it. So it's a funny draft here, but the first four picks, I think, are much closer than especially game one. I think both teams have a lot of different things to play for. I think the big difference maker, though, is that there's no Death Prophet, there's no Visage on NoRunes. It's where Alliance.LATAM just simply have Beastmaster, so it's a little bit easier for them to play the map. NoRunes just have to get some pretty extraordinary plays going. Then I can believe in them a little bit more here. But if they start to fall behind, well, every play Alliance.LATAM make is just going to be space for the Medusa to farm and to create that gap between him and the PL.
Yeah, and I suppose either way it was going to be risky, right? You either draft up a hero that you feel can maybe match the scaling in the late game of the Medusa, or you risk it all on a much more up-tempo lineup to try and push into Alliance.LATAM before the Medusa was ready. NoRunes felt like Mini Phantom Lancer was safer than... I'm not even really sure what carry they would have picked up to try and push that tempo further ahead, but I mean, it's their choice. It's their potentially final game of not just the group stage, but the event itself. So if this is what they're comfortable with, rolling those dice, more power to them.
Yeah, and I think probably the easy one you could say is they very confidently decide to go for the PL as opposed to like a hero, perhaps like the sniper, which makes sense. Alliance.LATAM do have a pretty nice jump lineup, and surely PL is a lot more survivable, especially versus the Batrider. We already got to see that matchup yesterday, a matchup that is absolutely miserable versus Analog, because you just can't track him down. If the fight starts early, you have to find the PL at either the beginning of the fight or the end of the fight. You cannot get him whenever everything is going haywire, because it just gets so confusing. Because even though you're putting those napalms down constantly, the stacks confuse you, the numbers above the head confuse you, he dispels it all off, it ends up not mattering. It's just a mess of a fight.
Yeah, it's a nightmare for the Batrider to play against, and we did see, once that Heart of Tarrasque was picked up, if you lasso the wrong target, you lose. If you lasso the right target, and you don't kill him, you still lose, so... that's the timing that Mini's hoping for. That's the stage that he wants to reach in this game, that just unstoppable monstrosity. But ET, we're a long ways off from that. There's a hell of a lot of gold standing between Mini and that particular mark, so we'll see how it plays out. In the meantime, though, a fight between the supports here. El Misho, with the Fade Bolt, has a little bit of an advantage, and honestly, he's just hitting harder right now, and Nuagas has to be very careful. He loses line of sight for a moment, and El Misho should not be able to finish this kill. Oh, God, he's going to keep on going. That was a little bit risky, but he's going to be okay, and this Silencer now finally decides, yeah, enough of this. TP himself to the lane, but he lost his courier and missed out on maybe the first wave or so's experience.
Yeah, could be worse, though. And not like the Rubik is going to TP as well. Yeah, he's just going to have to walk, but nice damage traded. Killed Nuagas' courier as well. Did get the delivery, though, so, you know, it could be worse, but still very obnoxious. And then, funnily enough, makes it back in the lane just in time to get level 2 alongside his PL, because Nuagas did sap some XP from his mid laner. Maybe Mr. Gene's a little bit less happy about that, but not going to be behind in the lane at least.
Yeah, but this is something he's going to have to deal with. Vitali with the point up in the axe is kind of early here as opposed to the boar play, so... We were talking about this a little bit in the draft, that Nuagas would be kinda, sorta able to help deal with the boar, but if Vitali's just going to go for maybe the more damage-oriented route with the axes, then Nuagas' overall influence in this lane is a little bit less.
Yeah. Still has to be careful about maybe the mana usage. You know, level 1 axes are not very fearsome, and certainly Elmisha's going to look for stacks when he can, but without the boar, it's very difficult for them to actually find some of these kills. Vitali has to get 2 to 4 stacks of those axes before play can really happen. And even though the Silencer is up in the wave, he knows that there's no boar right now. He sees the buff of the Inner Beast. You know, he just calms it out from his teammate, and then he's very aware that he's not going to get slowed up in the lane.
Well, I guess meanwhile, popping some mangoes, looking to force a fight. Vitaly's in some trouble. They do slow him up a little bit with the Spirit Lance, and DOT's just not quite enough. Vitaly will live. Turns around for the axes, though, so Elmisho feels confident to push in for the kill, and he's got it. Dies immediately afterwards, but that's first blood.
Yeah. First blood gets a fast now courier ride for Vitaly. Probably just sends a salve here with his teammate. And then both laners are happy. Used absolutely everything in the tank there for both sides. So, they're not going to be unhappy about their mana usage, but still, with the first blood bonus, definitely more worth for Alliance.
Well, while they reset their lanes a little bit, we shall look to the top lane, see how Katara's doing. See how this one plays out. You've got a core Monkey King in the off lane, but Medusa's not exactly a hero that I think he's going to be able to get too much of the Jingu mastery on. Gardeck's a little bit of a different story, and I think that's part of the reason why Heiko still is putting more points up in the Jingu, but well, how aggressive can they get here? If they catch Katara without the shield, you do have both Boundless Strike and Cookie, so well, we'll see what they look to do maybe once they have another level or two.
Yeah. Katara is happy, though. He can't really get pressured. He's got his boots already as well, so what is still a very slow hero is, not the slowest in the lane, but this lane does get more difficult, and without Gardeck really making any effort to pull, it's a little bit more difficult. Bottom, though, yeah. Gets walked down. Just level 3. The second point up in the Axes, second point up in the Fade Bolt. The Dukes just get even stronger.
And No Boot Silencer is not outrunning anyone in any scenario, so not fun for him. Not fun for Mini either, who is getting a little bit bullied here, but here comes his support back into the lane. They're immediately going to jump on him, though. Do they have the cooldowns for this, though? They're going to try with the Axes. Fade Bolt's up in 1. And they've got him again. And now Mini, you don't want to be here. Mini. Doppelganger's away. Do they guess right? Well, who needs to guess? We've got Axes, but may need to walk that statement back a little bit. Mini is still trying to dance his way around, but there's that Fade Bolt again. Nope. Not even going to need it. Vitaly hits with the Axes a third time in the fight. And this lane for NoRunes is very bad at this point. The only saving grace is that Mini had been farming up a Storm beforehand, but now he's really getting kind of pushed out of this.
Yeah, just kind of inundated with creeps. A nice push in from Alliance.LATAM. They didn't even glyph any of those creeps. All of them pretty much died to the tower, which is also really sad for Mini. He was not able to peacefully farm in that situation. So even though the creeps all died at his feet, got some XP from it. Yeah, this lane is just starting to hurt. And sure, Vitaly might need to get a little bit more mana, but 3 points up in the Axes, his lane's just annoying. And Mini does not have the capabilities to just kind of idly sit by and wait. He hasn't bought a raindrop. He's not really making this lane work for him right now.
Oh, Gardeck getting himself into a little bit of trouble there in the river, runs into 3 heroes as even Mr. Jeans came over to see what was up, and well, that works out pretty damn well for the puck. You get yourself a free kill, you grab the haste rune, and well, a solid maneuver there. However, speaking of maneuvers, here comes Analog, rotating his way bottom, looking for what should be an easy pickoff onto Nuagas. Need a little bit more damage to finish the job. They do manage to get it, but over on the other side of the river, Elmisho is on the run, trying to dodge through the trees. Mini does have Lance up, but, well, Phantom Rush will do it instead. So, saves himself some mana and his cooldown. He doesn't have TP for about 8 more seconds, though, but I don't believe anyone's really chasing after him. Snipes a courier as he goes here, too. And now he'll TP home.
Yeah. Very nicely played. Got a return there. Just overextended a little bit. Left their Rubik in the dust, but the cores are happy. They walk away. They're very satisfied. And Analog gets a bottle refill now. So Misha's like, well, you didn't help me, but, here you go. I'll be nice.
Support duties, taking precedence over personal feelings there. Analog, though, he is 6. He has not skilled up Lasso yet, but he is holding that point. Not entirely sure if this sneakiness is gonna be relevant, right? I mean, the Bat Rider's almost never going to actually pass up on his ult. So if they see he's 6, they'll take the guess that he does have it. But, well, Not really sure he can use it mid, unless Mr. Jeans just takes his hands off the keyboard effectively. Getting that lasso initiation is going to be just about impossible.
No, but Mr. Jeans looking to maybe make something happen, but he veers off back into the jungle. Might see more from him once he actually has his Witchblade, but in the meantime, he has got a nice little lead for himself. 400 gold ahead of the Batrider, and several fights break out.
So August gets roared and finished off there in that south side jungle, whereas Gardic tried to contest the rune. Showed up a little bit too early. It's just an illusion, so Mr. Jeans can't do a crazy amount with that, but it's still a bottle refill, and it's still gold into his hands.
No, he really is kind of making this game work. Gets the 8-minute rune as well, has an illusion rune. No silence to purge off on his side, but it could still be the difference maker if he is trying to survive versus, let's say, the lasso or the Batrider, just trying to mess up his opponent. Even though right now his opponent is farming a huge ancient stack, Analog is going to get his boots of travel off this.
Trying to keep up on the other side, but doesn't matter how many of these creeps you take, it's not exactly going to match up to the ancients. So, yeah, Analog gets that first sort of major buff up. Boots of travel is going to, well, maybe even allow him to get aggressive across the map. We really haven't seen too much in the way of rotations, just that one push down bot where he got that easy kill onto Silencer. But let's see if he gets more active now. He just TP'd himself top, cleared out the remnants of the creep wave though, so this is not a sneaky play. NoRunes know that he's here, but well, if you're Analog, who cares? Maybe I can't be sneaky, but now I can get some farm. And Heiko and Jupiter, I guess they could try, right? They've got the Boundless, they've got the Cookie, but at this early stage, the Monkey King doesn't really have much damage to contribute into this fight.
Yeah, and he is against what is kind of the apex predator here. He does not want to have to deal with him, but okay, they're going to try for it, and yeah, that peters out just about as quickly as they got into it, but without the Snapfire Kisses, I don't know.
Oh,
that kind of seemed like a Hail Mary from the start.
The instant that Analog survives that initiation top, he TPs himself down to the bottom lane, they get the roar, and because they use the roar, they keep the lasso. Analog did not have to deploy that, so lane's done. It's over. PL's got to rotate away. He doesn't have a tower anymore, and at least his teammates are trying to make something happen on the other side. Gardic, I think that's pretty much the exact location he died in last time, but he's got to try. He's got to make an attempt to contest those runes when he can, and his death, obviously, more than counterbalanced by what Alliance.LATAM got down in that bottom lane.
Yeah, just pushed in. Gotta be careful.
He's tracking. This ward sees Nuagas, and at this point, the Silencer, he's not any more durable now than he was a few minutes ago as... Okay. Illusory Orb taken. El Misho, don't know how much he's going to need the mobility, considering he's been in the back for a lot of these engagements, but it's more nuke damage to work with. But at the moment, the damage that needs to be worried about if you're NoRunes is the damage to your tower. That is tier 1, both bot and mid taken, so this south side jungle is, as of right now, really no longer your territory.
Yeah, just Beastmaster, too strong, too quick on that rotation, and sadly, you don't have any revenge play, even though Mr. Jeans finished Witchblade, looking to do some damage here.
Okay. They are getting onto the Rubik. Amisho, though, is not going down all that quickly, and they have to commit the Dream Coil. That's really not what they wanted, but they will get the kill. Mini, in the meantime, is trying to track onto Gardic. Boundless Strike comes in from Heiko, and they will be able to finish it off. So both the supports on Alliance.LATAM go down. NoRunes may not have been able to reel in one of the bigger bounties on the cores, but they get something, and they're able to get some good vision, some good detection in that south side jungle. So even with the towers gone, ET, this could keep Alliance.LATAM out of their side of the map for a little while longer.
Yeah, just good stuff. Just feels like that was the play that needed to be made, and this next coil is going to be very important. As we get closer to that BKB on the Batrider, you really want to slow up him specifically, but Alliance, in getting all those objectives so quickly, are now kind of left without a play for just a little bit here. Vital is going to finish up that Vlads, and then he would love to push in and take a poke at the Roche, but that's where Kataro really isn't going to help him out all too much. Feels very slow. real quick pause,
Okay.
unpause. I don't even know if their opponents were ready, but just send it, move on real quickly. I don't even know if Alliance knew that the game was paused, but we are waiting for NoRunes to make a play happen with their level 6s here, especially on the supports. Noages is still starved. He doesn't have Global Silence just yet. 13 minutes in. That's pretty rough, but Jupiter has those kisses. They'd love to kill a core. Even though top, look at this.
Oh, the
Invis rune
lasso.
caught him off guard, but
Good attempt at the end there, but just not enough separation he can cause, and that Invis rune is big. El Misho, okay. DOT is kind of taking him down, but he's standing inside of the Seeds AoE, so that saved his life initially, but he's still in some trouble here. Heiko, though, gets immediately lifted up. That's not the best use of Wukong's command ET, but they get the kill, I suppose. That's a long cooldown.
yeah. And didn't even contribute in the Rubik kill at all, but can't be too critical. It's not the biggest cooldown. It's where the coil and the kisses are just easier and much more consistent to use. So those are going to be the spells that NoRunes feel a little bit worse about wasting, but they haven't wasted those just yet. They still need to find that opportunity. Jupiter kind of needs a play to fall into his lap. Otherwise, we're not going to see those Greaves, those Force Staffs coming out, items that he needs to deal with Alliance.LATAM's aggression. But he's got a smoke. He's just waiting for a buddy to play with. Sadly, though, Alliance.LATAM take control of the river again. Analog gets, yet again, another power rune. A very strong one as well. If he can wait for that next lasso, then he could have an even faster lasso with the Arcane.
Taro's going to TP his way top, trying to put an end to this push, and can they catch anyone here on the back end? Yes, they can. They've got the Hawk Vision, so Heiko, well, he got pulled back, but at that point, Analog doesn't have lasso, El Misho doesn't want to commit, but he stole Tree Dance, so your Rubik gets to kind of just hop around here, try and maybe find some vision, and maybe, yeah, get up behind the tower, get them vision onto Noagus, and they're going to go straight in for the kill. That's a well-placed Boundless Strike, but it's immediately stolen and turned right back around, and Silencer says, thanks for the attempted help, but you kind of also just killed me.
Yeah. And Alliance get the last tier 1. And a tier 1 that typically we see not that much emphasis on, but makes it a lot more difficult for NoRunes to defend the Roche. So Alliance are still just knocking down the pins that just come up in front of them as trying to collapse here. Gardeck's got a hook shot. Doesn't want to go, though. Gets scared off by the creep wave running interference, so decides to let that one pass. But they are still incredibly farmed. All of Alliance.LATAM's cores are really just hitting their mark here. Maybe they're giving a little bit of farm and a little bit of time over to Mini. A Mini who is not messing around. I think he's got his Yasha coming out on the courier, but then will just turn into that heart build. But still kind of scary. And there is that distance between the Medusa and the PL that is beginning to form. And mainly just because Kataro is able to farm Ancients and most of the map just a little bit faster, as well as having the full completed Manta. So he can farm the lane while he farms the jungle, but gotta try and make some plays happen here from NoRunes. They have really done nothing in the past few minutes.
Taro's starting to work towards that Scotty, and then, well, not quite Doomsday, I suppose, but pretty close to it is what's going on here. Analog gets in, pops the Arcane, lasso deployed, Mini with no backup, and did not have quite enough illusions at the start of that fight to really make Analog guess.
Yeah, really well played from Analog. Very patient, doesn't blow his load. Very nicely paced out as here's the global, here's the play, but they need more. And also, Vitaly's here with the Helm of the Overlord. There are more heroes coming. Analog's a little crazy for that one, though.
Okay, yeah, that was... I don't know what that was. That was not the greatest of decisions, just not showing respect to the Wukong's command damage. But Alliance.LATAM are still going to push forward as best as they can. Kataro's making his way into this fight, but the Diffusal Blade is really going to burn through a lot of that mana. That forces out a defensive Stone Gaze. And that just felt like overconfidence, really, to sum it all up in one word, ET. Alliance.LATAM go in thinking that the fight's just going to go their way by virtue of them showing up, and that's not the case.
No, they don't have that much of a lead, even though Their cores are still really farmed, really getting to those marks. But they also TP'ing the Batrider in that instance without his completed BKB. He had it, just not on his body, and
Mhm.
then got punished. He just got beat by the monkeys. Plain and simple. As kind of an ugly way for the Bat to die. And a little bit of space. Not space given over to the Phantom Lancer, because, you know, he was respawning during that engagement, but space for the rest of the lineup that needs kills to feel like they can still be impactful. And Mr. Jeans is second net worth now. He has just catapulted himself forward.
A Witchblade, got himself a Kaya Sange. He's queued up a Blink, but that's still about 2k gold off. But yeah, starting to get a little bit tougher here. Trying to take steps to avoid that sort of damage fall-off scenario that we see from a lot of pucks. But on the other side of things, ET, this is Roche pretty much for free. Kataro's going to be able to pick it up, so now has to be a little bit less worried. Last time around, you know, he pushed into the PL, lost a lot of his mana shield right away, but if you've got 2 lives to work with, maybe you don't need to back off quite as early.
Yeah, and it just really does change the name of the game here. It allows Alliance.LATAM to push down and brute force a lot of these tier 2s. You just have the Inner Beast next to the Medusa. All you can really do from NoRunes is make sure they get some split push action going, as Mr. Jeans is getting cooked here. Misho, and look at that. It's a game, a cat and mouse, and doesn't land, but Mr. Jeans might need some more help, but okay. Gonna sit and wait. Mr. Jeans is still stuck in the gate coil.
Well, Global Silence comes out, so the coil can't be immediately deployed, but he's still got it. And now, if you're NoRunes, it's time to back off, right? If you're Mr. Jeans, you're telling your teammates, I made a little bit of a mistake. They have coil. Let's back off and not go in. But if they don't go in, ET, I mean, tier 2 tower is going to get taken. They've got Aegis and a third of the duration on the DD, so Alliance.LATAM are thinking to themselves, let's go poke the high ground.
Yeah, they just want to get that glyph. They get glyph now. They can just swing for all of those outer towers. And NoRunes know the stakes here. They really want to try to wait as long as possible, but if it's going to go down, they're going to have to send it, and there you go. Alliance.LATAM might even feel confident enough to just stick around, but if they get any sort of resistance, they have those other objectives to go for. But they see the PL bottom. The PL's hitting their tier 1 tower. They want some revenge here, and this tier 3 is just dying.
Yep. Going straight in for it. They know the global can't be online yet. Dream Coil is coming up in 5, but they've got one of their own on the Rubik, so they're feeling pretty safe at this moment in time. Getting on to the melee racks. Nuages doing everything in his power as a position 5 silencer, short of ulting. And Heiko's going to take a stab at it here with the ult, but Kitaro didn't really care too much about that. Eventually he backs away, but running out of time. Wukong's command will time out, and they're still hitting the racks. So all of this ET is just the tiniest delays on the siege, but they're still going to lose just about everything.
Yeah, and they cut the mid-wave during all of that. And more importantly, Mini was unable to get to that mid-wave. So there are more creeps coming in. They've got Glyph. They didn't use Glyph at all when it came to defending that top rack. So it's perhaps saying that this is their Aegis timing. We're going to give it up. We're going to try to wait out this Aegis as long as we can. But what stops Alliance.LATAM from looking for that next tier 3? I don't know. We'll have to see. There is the coil, and coil, yeah, from the Rubik. Just using it to use it, though. It was about to time out, and Misho doesn't want to go down for that casual play, but, well, Jupiter.
Well, you may not want to go down for the play there, but Analog says, let's go. Let's get it. Jupiter's too far out of the base. I got a Blink Dagger. Easy maneuver. No BKB needing to be used either, so Analog is still sitting on his 9-second charge, and well, now they're just going to take complete control of the map. Outpost claimed. Meanwhile, for Mini, oh man, I mean, he's getting close, ET. Progress towards that heart is being made, but is the cost worth it? Because a second lane of racks could be threatened here if Kitaro wants to push, but actually, they're going to look for the kill. A little bit off on the timing, however. Mini TP'd home just before they hit him.
Yeah. Gets away with it. Gets a lot of farm. Mini is looking for his Reaver right now for the heart, as well as trying to uproot Alliance.LATAM out of this part of the map that they just abandoned. Killing off the Helm of the Overlord creep as well. Even more gold in Mini's back pocket, but These are your outer towers going down. Aegis is gone in a minute, so LATAM won't take another stab at the high ground unless they feel extremely confident, but they're also okay with waiting. There is still that huge gap between Kataro and Mini, one that will start to get filled in a little bit, but Kataro's about as strong as he's going to get, at least for the immediate future. He's just going to continue to be the annoying Medusa. He's even going to turn his build around and look for a Maelstrom just to try and deal with the PL. It's not a perfect solution. It's one that you can still handle, but there's still no heart, and any pick is going to result in more damage. Damage that NoRunes really cannot afford too much more of. You know, Aegis gone in 15, but this is all free at this point.
Kataro's looking for as much damage as he can. Jupiter does not want to buy back here. Illusory Orb, stolen by the Rubik, so Misho's got some more wave clear, and the tier 3 tower just a tad over half HP, but if you're NoRunes, you're still stuck in a siege scenario here. Sure, Kataro doesn't have 2 lives anymore, but if another creep wave comes in, which it is doing right this second, he can hit from the low ground. And yeah, okay, you know, maybe there's some uphill miss, but it's worth it. Even if this is slower, the tower gets taken out, and NoRunes really only have the 1 glyph left, so they have to be so selective in terms of how they want to use it. Force Staff pushes Kataro into the fight. They need to be able to back him up. Global Silence, though, does come in, but there's your Manta. Dream Coil deployed to incredibly little effect. And that's, what, 2 or 3 ults used? And ET effectively, NoRunes are right back where they started. They're still getting put under siege, and they didn't find any pickoffs. Okay.
No, this is pretty much it. You either go now or you lose, but they didn't get Stone Gaze. They didn't get any reaction. They all stood strong on LATAM. They just forced their Medusa down to the low ground. They've got all of their ultimates, all of their BKBs, and you don't have Glyph on NoRunes. This might just be it. They're stalling out for a play, but the play's not coming. The heart is finally done on Mini, but is Mini going to be able to win this game by just running at the Medusa, or is there still just too much of a gap? I mean, it looks like at this point they're almost certainly megas.
20 seconds left for the Dream Coil as the kisses will be deployed a little bit early, and, well, a little bit early is an understatement. That was unbelievably early. Maybe, oh boy, too early, and guess who stole it? Johnny on the spot there as El Misho, as he's just taking every single major ult that they want. And they didn't get the ranged Drax AT, so the Megas aren't here yet, but I mean, if you're Alliance.LATAM, I don't think you're going to back this off all the way. You still have so many tools to work with. They've got Roar, they've got Lasso, they've got the stolen Mortimer Kisses. They could just blitz that final lane of Rax and get the Megas up.
Yeah, they are going to be patient. They're going to let Kataro get his mana pool entirely back before they go for another play. But because they use nothing, the rest of the lineup doesn't need to retreat to their side of the map. They get to stay out here, and they are getting scouted. Their sentries missed this nice observer ward placed here by NoRunes, but NoRunes are also not strong enough to march into the 4-man. It's just too much. BKBs are still there. Ults are still there. They're still very strong together. As soon as Kataro gets his mana, I mean, that's going to kind of be the game. That's going to be their last big push here. Lift is not going to come up before Kataro wants to do something again. You just have to, you know, still finish up some of these items. He's going to have a full Mjolnir before he looks like he taps the high ground again. If they really want to be safe, they wait for an next Roche, and we'll see here. But there's also perhaps a bottled DD Medusa that could just look to end this game. They already scouted it out. They're waiting for it right now. And the Roche timer is not going to cooperate with them. So is this really going to be a moment where they give their opponents time? I'm not entirely sure, but I think a bottled DD Medusa, it might just be enough here for Alliance to just look for the win.
Yeah. DD on Medusa. There was an Aether Lens just picked up by Analog as well, so he's got increased cast range for the Lasso alongside his Blink. El Misho picked up a Blink Dagger as well in the interim, so I mean, it's full steam ahead, and look at the target they find. That is Mini pulled back, roared up, dead to rights, no buyback. And that may just be the game right then and there. They're going to try their best, but Jupiter is already down. His buyback unavailable as well, and yeah. The Megas are picked up. El Misho throwing the kisses out. At this point, just for style points. And there's your GG. NoRunes. Not the way that they wanted to go out here in Pro Series ET. They get demolished in Game 1, and we could certainly say that they put up more of a fight in Game 2, but still not nearly enough.
Yeah. even though I think Mr. Jeans, he's up there in the farm, he ends like the fifth or sixth highest net worth in this game. It's just not enough plays. It's safety that he gives himself, but is not killing his opponents. And you see, it's a very low kill score game, and that's not the kind of game that NoRunes wanted. They wanted to be messy. They wanted picks. They wanted this to drag out and go a little bit slower, so that way Mini could catch up to the Medusa, the distance that is always going to be there in this matchup. But Kataro is just too efficient with the first Aegis. It's just too little, too late, paired with the Beastmaster as well. Just too much damage that ends up hitting onto your buildings. They get forced into quite the awful position, and then the rest of the lineup gets scared to make any more plays. So they don't make any plays, and without plays being made, I mean, even their KDAs, like Mr. James ends 3-1 and 3, but that's it. 6 kills that he gets to participate in. Just not enough gameplay, I think, and not enough picks that Alliance gave him. The support duo not really feeding uncontrollably, and all of the deaths are on the support duo on Alliance.LATAM. All of the cores had an incredibly clean game. Vitaly ends deathless, Kataro ends deathless. Analog's only death is kind of the Berserk one where he TPs into the Wukong's command. Just an extremely clean game from Alliance.
Yeah, and clear cut, clean execution, ET at the moment that they needed it most, right? The 2-0 here goes their way. That gives blah blah blah. Try that again. That catapults them over Dreamers. So as of right now, Alliance.LATAM hold the 5 seed. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens at the end of the day, because Dreamers do have one last series to be played. But if you are Alliance, you successfully did everything in your power. Now, it's out of your hands at this stage. You have to watch the rest unfold, but you had a job to do, and they did it.
Yeah. And now you just gotta wait, see what the rats, and pray for the rats, I guess, in this situation, even though I think that's going to be probably your super close series to punctuate the end of the group stage here. But Alliance have set themselves up for success.
So we had a fight for the final playoff spot here that Alliance, at least for now, have won. So that means NoRunes are eliminated, ET. But we move along to our second series. We go from the last playoff spot to the top, potentially, spot here, as Thunder Awaken are going to play up against Infinity, two squads who are trying to secure top 2 seeds. And as we mentioned yesterday, we'll mention it again, top 2 is the operative phrase here, because the 1 and 2 seeds simply play each other. So the difference between first and second is really just for bragging rights, but you do want to be one of those two.
Yeah, you get to that later phase, you get that easier path, and I mean, realistically, let's say you only get to play, 2 series, you get one set further. You get a little bit more money at the end of the day. You get that cushion for you. And as we keep bringing up, you get the experience. You've already played at least one of the other teams already. You have a best of 2 under your belt against the team. You have a 2-0 against them, even better, even though I don't think that's the case necessarily. But still, it is a big advantage coming into phase 3.
So we'll see how that one plays out. Thunder Awaken versus Infinity should be coming your way pretty soon here. Only about 10 minutes out. So once again, commiserations to NoRunes. Congratulations for now to Alliance. We won't pop that champagne just yet, but at least for the time being, they are sitting in a much safer spot. So stick around, folks, and we'll be back for the start of our second best of 2 in just a little bit.